So let's talk about the collection. So I probably, certainly in the time I've been running a gallery, I've never seen such an eclectic collection of work, and I've probably said that a few times, but I think this is upping the game a bit more, and because to me it looks like lots of different artists. It's not just about mediums, not just about style, but about messaging and the feelings that you get from it, and it's almost a curator's nightmare, but also a curator's dream. So I'm wondering how you see yourself as an artist, and what kind of an artist are you when you think I'm an artist?
I think almost how you described it, as many artists. I don't think any one person is any one thing. I'm only going to use second-hand materials or things that I find, or I'm not going to use or buy stuff anymore with which to make the work.
And that's a conscious decision for everything you do. So in some ways, that is the starting point, that you're not buying, you're finding, you're exploring, you're observing, and then what comes from that is your word reappropriated to create a piece of art. We talked about the start. Where's the end? How do you know where the end is?
Well, with a photograph, if we think about the work as being talking about the link between photographs and painting, there's lots of back and forth. It's the painting talking about photographs, and it's the photographs talking about painting. Because I was intrigued by that starting point of photography supposedly being in the Guild of St. Luke in Bruges, where you have the mirror makers and the painters sharing a guild for the first time, and supposedly the camera obscura being kind of born in that place. And so there's this link that, at the very start of photography, there were painters there, and they kind of shared some stuff all the way through. So in terms of when is something finished, with a photograph, it's a moment in time. So you kind of don't have a choice over that. It's taken.
Assuming
to capture that.
Assuming no post-production work.
That's another one of my.
You don't do with any of your photos, or.
That's another one of the parameters I think that I've tried to set myself, is that there won't be any editing going on in the photo. We're talking like taking dust out and things like that to make the image clearer and not scratched or something like that, then I'll do that. But I like the idea that when the shutter closes, that is the thing.
So what's the equivalent of the shutter closing on that painting?
I think they're just all fair game until they're sold.
That's the end point, when they're sold.
Yeah, so I mean, I was chatting to Michael Penny, the sculptor, the late Michael Penny, a while back when we were doing something similar to us sitting down talking like this now. And he gave us a few examples of when painters would literally walk into galleries and change stuff while it was hanging on the wall in a frame. And I think we both agreed that that was right, that someone should and could do that.
Subject matter themselves, again, with such a diversity of work and messages and medium styles and everything. There are actually some themes, and one of the themes is flowers, which you kind of look at the work and go, I don't see floral pretty pictures here, but I do see a lot of flowers. Where did that come from?
If you'd have asked me that question a few years ago, I would have found the idea of painting flowers quite trivial and quite twee and a bit vanilla, perhaps, as a thing to do.
And I probably wouldn't show them in here as a still life painting. It has its place elsewhere, but not in this gallery. But
I suppose to now I think it's gardening actually that has revealed parallels actually with painting. For me, the act of doing both almost kind of apply the same methodology to both things. You know, if you have a garden that you walk into for the first time and there's not much there, you have to start making decisions about this thing, just like you have to start making decisions about a canvas. And over time, things just grow in the garden, and you've got to make a decision, like, am I going to keep that thing? Like, is it doing something for me? Is it doing something for the composition? Is it doing something for the work? Does it make sense? Or am I going to tear that thing out and throw it aside and see what else grows? And that's very similar to describing the method of painting for me. It's like, you have this thing, which I think why the starting point always has to be a thing. It can't be this pure white canvas in front of you. It has to come from somewhere as a point to react to.
I love that. I love that analogy. I mean, you know, I can start thinking that the garden is maybe the whole collection. The parts of it are or it could be a painting or an individual piece, but it could be a collection. It could be a combination of things where you're almost curating your garden in the same way as you're curating your series of artwork. Yeah, that works for me.
And having the studio literally at the point of, you know, you open the door, you're in the garden instantly. That place has become like a kitchen garden, workshop, gym, like all of these things together that you can do at the same time. They gradually just kind of bleed into each other.
So I'm interested in your style of gardening because, again, that could sound quite a twee answer in that, you know, gardening and I place things and I plan this and I have pretty colours and all the rest of it. But for me, there's a certain amount of, there's some aggression in your work. There's also some playfulness, there's all sorts of things in there, but one of the aspects is that there's scratching out, there's some gouging, there's some vandalism, there's some distortion. Is that how you garden?
No, but I think there is, particularly with the garden pentaptic, which is supposed to represent the sort of theatre of flora and fauna. So there is some drama in the growing and dying of plants. There is some drama in the theatre of animals and things that just kind of find their way into this space that you're in. There's death in this place.
Yeah.
And there's comedy, and there's, there's this, it's just the things that you see and the way that they interact together.
That makes loads of sense. It's not necessarily your approach to gardening, it's what you see as nature and what's happening in the garden and observing beyond just the plants and the weeds but all the rest of the ecosystem in the garden.
Yeah, and you kind of zoom into that a bit, and there's this whole other world there, right, that's this big. The other week I was looking out into the garden and up on a TV aerial, there was a crow, and it was next to its, there were, two crows. And then the crow just looks to its companion and then just swings upside down on the TV aerial and just, ta-da, just unfold its wing. And it was almost like it was trying to show off to it.
Your work has an incredible amount of storytelling in it. And whether it's stories from observing in the garden and nature, also from your travels, also from people. And some of the stories that we've talked about are not trivial. They're sort of they're deep, they're dark, they're emotional, they're personal. How do you decide how much of that story to tell, or how much is just inherent in the art itself, and it comes through, but maybe in a less direct way?
Yeah, I think maybe the things that you're not so comfortable saying out loud, it's easy to create some sort of riddle around those things. I think we just do that anyway. Yeah, so it could be a long story, it could be a short story, but every picture in this show tells a story of sorts. But in terms of the darkness, and we've spoken about this in terms of some of the photographs as well, I think some things can appear dark, but again, a different layer to them. You have dark comedy, right? The intent there is fun. You have like the aesthetics of, say, punk or metal music that appear very, you know, there's an aggression there, there's a darkness, but in the aid of something else. It doesn't rely on perhaps this classical training that I've tried to, I think didn't opt into, but then the longer it's gone on, I've tried to avoid.
So with the sometimes hidden storytelling, it could be quite hard work for people to appreciate and understand certainly what you mean by the work, without a good conversation or a chat like this, or some written text about the work. And it could appear inaccessible, or it could appear, people could take a completely different personal connection from it and make up their own story. How much work and effort do you think people, or did you want people to make, and how much accessibility, easy or difficult, did you intend when you made the work?
Well, I don't think, for a start, I have any control over the taste or sensibilities of other people, and nor should I. But I think if I act honestly and compulsively in the way I make things, then when someone does connect with it on some sort of level, then for me that's a genuine connection that's happened.
And for some pieces, you've gone into art history, some masters, a lot of thinking, research, and quite academic. Do you need to be an art historian to enjoy some of the work?
Regarding the masters, I think I like the idea of there being an echo in the work of something that is considered maybe celebrated or recognizable or is in there already somehow, so that when you come to this work you can see maybe what I'm trying to do with it. If you look at something like the sunflowers, everyone knows what Van Gogh's sunflowers look like. They're on every piece of merchandise that money can buy. Yeah, I suppose with I'm also trying to show this kind of lineage in art that happens. This almost reappropriation from one art generation to another. And we're also part of this very much a copy and paste generation now, I think. So for there to be a very clear thing that you remember from somewhere else in this is kind of it's not a nod to that, it's not a homage to it, but it's an acceptance that that's a thing.
Which it is all the time anyway, I mean, consciously or not, we always build on, there's no such thing as a brand new idea. We're always building, and I guess you're making that more explicit if someone is aware of what you're doing that with.
Yeah, but it's very much got to be an echo. It can't be... I think the best covers of songs are the ones that they take the lyrics almost, but then the song is different. You can... you notice the style of this new artist with the resonance of the original there somewhere.
And so when I look at it and other people look at the collection, they're going to see, I think they're going to feel lots of different emotions, even in one piece. They're going to maybe laugh and think, oh, it's very playful and colourful and happy. Then they're going to see some other things in there that may be darker or more thoughtful. Does it reflect how you are as a person?
For me, the way I think is that everything is on some sort of spectrum. So the two opposite ends of that spectrum that you just described are kind of a darkness and a light. You could take any one of these works and they may appear on a different point on that spectrum, almost like your mood. To me, there's a certain honesty in that. I think there's layers of ambiguity in all things, even if they're designed to be definite, there's still ambiguity in them. And so, yeah, I think I've tried to capture that in these things as well.
Many an artist will say, I have a meaning and other people might have a different meaning, and therefore I don't want to dictate what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, because everyone will make their own connection or not, and that's the beauty of each person seeing something in a slightly different way. But when I speak to you about each piece, there's always a really interesting story. There's always something I'm going, oh wow, I didn't know that, or I didn't think about that. I thought something different, and it really adds to my intrigue and enjoyment of the piece. Do you think it would be useful for a curator to give someone a bit of that story to guide them on the way, or do you prefer people to come in with a completely fresh view?
I don't think I'm necessarily that precious about stuff like that. I think when I was studying something like curating, it seemed to be that almost 50% of people were desperate for that story. They were sort of clambering for it in a way that if it wasn't there, then suddenly the show was somehow a disappointment. And then the other half of people were just like, leave me alone. I'm going to figure this out for myself. I want this to be a relationship between me and the thing, not whether I can connect with this story or not. So I think there's almost a no good answer to that, because it's someone else is going to decide for you anyway.
I wanted to get to that. That's perfect. That's what I've been trying to ask that question in the right way to get that answer, because I think that's what people are going to think when they come in here, and now we've prepared them for that. So that's brilliant. Many artists are known for something. They often have a brand, which is, oh, that's a Picasso, that's a Van Gogh. In your work, that is not an obvious thing. There's not an obvious thread to say, that's a Mitchell, that belongs in this collection or to this brand. Is that something you think is unresolved, or is that deliberate, or something you're very comfortable with?
I don't think I've ever really been that comfortable with the idea of trying to wrap myself up into being like a cohesive brand. I think if you apply it to, say, the world of work, and this idea that to have a profession is to be one thing and to do that one thing particularly well, I just don't think that's how we're built as people. I think we're maybe like 4 different things all at once. There has to be a satisfaction in it. And to get that satisfaction, I think I have to do those different things.
Related to brand, but really on a jovial level, that's meant, this question's meant. But you do have a brand, and you've called it Duke Mitchell. So why did you do that?
Well, basically, it's literally as simple as if you type my name into Google, the internet, I'm 2 people only to the internet. One is an actor who had a long career on Home and Away. May still be on it, I don't know. But just like a very heart-throbby, type of guy. So he's taken up the first 600 pages of Google. And then the other one is a murderer. So that's taken up the other, like, super subversive, like, dark part of the internet. So that's, how it is. So I quite liked, just like lavish vandalism, I suppose, the idea that by changing just a small piece of something, just the first letter, you got something that sounded a bit regal and a bit, maybe a bit more like an artist. So that's where it initially came from, and I suppose I've stuck with the name now. And that's another thing that you have to do, right? You can't keep changing these things, otherwise.
Although you're changing your art to not have a cohesive style, message, brand. Maybe you could have a name as well.
Yeah, I don't know if the algorithms would like that very much.
No, I was thinking of someone who's done that, but there was someone, but I can't think.
I think you'd have to reach a level of
notoriety,
and just absolute fame in order to do that.
That people are always making the links between the names rather than everyone being a fresh one from the start.
Yeah, and I'm sure their website stays the same, even if their nickname changes.
Yeah. I think someone came in to an exhibition we had once that was controversial to some people, and a woman came in and she stood in the middle of the room and just said, "This is all shit," and walked out again. I was quite pleased with that response, because I think the enemy, the worst thing you can possibly have when you leave an exhibition is indifference.
I absolutely agree. I remember I would rather "this is all awful" or whatever the opposite of that is. But I remember being at an art fair once, and the thing that I found like absolutely crushing was someone walked past and looked, at this, and was just. It's like it didn't do anything. And that was probably, the worst feeling that you could have, or that I had. But that's part of life. Like, that happens to all things all the time by lots of people. I've probably been that indifferent to something as well.
I'm pretty confident that there are very few people will walk around and feel a sense of indifference. I'm quite confident that people would react strongly, positively and negatively. And you often get my 4-year-old daughter could do that, or you often get, what's that about? Doesn't make any sense, or people stand and stare for 20 minutes and just go into another world, and all the extremes and things in between. And I think I'm pretty confident that's going to be the positive reaction, that there will be not the positive reaction, that there will be strong reactions.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. To be a fly on the wall, like that would be really, really good, really interesting.
We've got cameras.
Yeah. Shall I just sit in the back and? Yeah.
Right, I'm done, and also that there was a bit in there that is a perfect end.